AITA for ruining my wife's friendship? My wife, 34F, and her friend have been friends since high school. They are pretty close and she was a bridesmaid for our wedding. Recently another friend invited them to go to Italy to their family's vineyard as their family was going to Spain for the month. So accommodations are free but the flight, food etc. were extra. They left for 2 weeks. I was not aware of this trip until a month before it was supposed to happen. They booked it 2 months out. Recently I lost my job and had to get another one. It pays around half what my job originally did. 120k 66k. My wife only has cashier experience and barely makes more money than it would be worth it for her to work, as we have 2 kids, 4 and 1. My wife isn't the best with money. She does spend without thinking, and she agreed to this trip without telling me. She had to beg her mom to look after the kids after she said yes to the trip and her friends booked the tickets. Her mom is from another city and came to live with me for 2 weeks as I had to work and couldn't take care of them when I'm working. I was extremely mad at her but allowed her to go as I know she's been depressed since the baby and it was too late anyway. She asked her friend to cover her for the flight and she would pay her back. I knew it was hard for us to pay her friend back, but it was a non-refundable anyway. She came back from the trip very happy until her friend asked for the flights. She had spent $1,400 on the trip not including the flight, and her friend wanted the $1,200 that was the cost of the flight that she had put onto her credit card. We had $300 left in our account and already have credit card debt. We are thinking of downsizing our house to an apartment, but it's hard because as soon as landlords hear that we have kids they don't want to talk anymore. It really sucks, but I told her we can't pay her friend back until I get a better job. It's been 3 months since the trip and her friend is getting angry because she promised to pay it back and we no longer have money. It's not like her friend needs the money back. She makes 6 figures and has a house already. She's not struggling. I told my wife we don't have enough to pay her back and she will have to explain to her friend. They clearly did not have a good conversation as her friend blocked her and told their other friends about her refusing to pay her back. She cried and is mad at me for losing my job. I was laid off, I had no choice. And ruining her friendship by not pulling money out of my ass to pay her friend. I got mad at her and told her to get a job at night then because I'm trying my best. NTA. But could you make payments or something to show the friend you're in good faith? If not, your wife should give her friend the money from another job. Like you said, that would be a good financial lesson. Regardless, it's clear that this friend is never going to trust her again. And I don't blame them. I was very set to go YTA when I first started reading this. Saying things like "you allowed her to go," and acting it would automatically be her salary that would be equated to childcare costs and be expected to cover those costs. It sounds like you're in a really serious financial position though, and I cannot understand her going on an expensive trip when you are in this situation. However, overall NTA. I appreciate she has depression, but you guys can't magic money out of thin air, and if you could, it should be spent on providing for your kids, not luxury holidays. Your wife absolutely should have asked the cost of the flight before agreeing to go. NTA. But your wife is. Is there no option for her to make money doing a side gig to get this paid for? Like if she did Rover for a couple months? Or even set up a payment plan with her friend and paid her back in small increments? She should have been straight up with her friend from the beginning that money is tight. Friends should never lend money unless they're willing to accept that they may not get it back. You and your wife are both assholes. She is clearly financially irresponsible and she shouldn't have gone on that trip while she can't afford it. She promised to pay the friend back, and $1,200 is a lot of money unless you are a billionaire. But even then, if you promise to do something, it's an asshole move to not follow through. You are an asshole because even though you think someone lives comfortably, you don't get to decide. They don't need the money. I'm pretty sure the friend worked hard so they can do a huge favor for your wife and pay for her ticket. How about we flip this around and say the friend doesn't care about you having kids and your wife's cashier job? NTA. Her not paying her friend back isn't your fault. It's her fault for agreeing to something she couldn't afford. Your wife ruined her own friendship, not you. That she's mad at you for getting laid off is really telling about the type of person she is, what she thinks of you, and what she considers your role in this relationship to be. You aren't there to be loved by her. You're there to financially support her. NTA. Let's get this straight. You didn't agree to an international trip without discussing it with your spouse. You didn't spring it on your spouse only a month before you let them with their mother-in-law and 2 children to juggle, while also working a new job and struggling with newer finances. You didn't beg a friend to cover a significant amount of dollar for you and promise to pay it back, while knowing your family really didn't have the money for any of it. So, you didn't ruin the friendship. She did. Both of you are in your 30s, have kids, and are just financially bumbling thieves? Your wife stole her friend's money and you're encouraging her to do that. She deserves to have her friendships nuked. But honestly, it sounds like she needs a therapist and a financial advisor because she's making almost intentionally poor decisions. You recognize she's depressed, and instead of getting her mental health care, you agree she should go on a trip you can't afford, knowing you'll struggle to pay back the friend? Y'all both need second jobs since you can't keep your expenses in line with your current incomes. YTA for admitting in the comments that you refusing to ever pay the friend back because you're pissed she outed your wife as a liar to their friends. You realize she can probably take you to Smalls Claims Court over this, right? Obviously your wife is the biggest asshole here, but you are too for how you're handling this. NTA. Your wife's poor decision-making skills and lack of money management is what caused the falling out between her and her friends. You played no role in the whole ordeal. She knew that the money was not there and spent $3,000 on the trip anyway. You were laid off and the kids were sent off to grandma's. She should not have gone on that trip at that time. YTA for counting her friend's money. It was a loan and not a gift. So you should not be complaining that the friend is rich, etc. Your wife is a grown woman and made the choice to splurge on this trip. It sounds as though your wife is trying to keep up with the Joneses, but you are broke. Friend deserves her money back. Wife needs to work out some sort of arrangement with the friend, even if it's $20 a week, in good faith. NTA. She ruined the relationship herself. She knew perfectly well that she couldn't afford the trip, borrowed money, and promised to pay it back. She should have discussed the situation with her friend before asking for the money and agreed on a repayment plan before the trip. This was her decision. It's not your responsibility to fix her mistakes. Your suggestion that she should find a job to pay off the debt is valid, and it would be beneficial to have a second income while improving your financial situation. You didn't choose to lose your job, and it was really disrespectful for your wife to plan to go on the trip without even discussing it with you. As far as the friend goes, it's understandable she wants to be paid back if that was the agreement. However, if you don't have it, then you don't have it. In my opinion, your wife was really selfish to pick such a lavish trip over the financial well-being of her family. In my opinion, you are NTA. Point 1. Your wife should have talked with you before she booked the trip. Point 2. Your wife should not have spent that much money if you can't afford it. Point 3. It is not your fault that their friendship is ruined. Your wife should not have made a promise she could not keep. You guys need to give her small amounts of the money if she wants to salvage her relationship. $50,100 at least monthly. If your wife works and even barely makes more than it would cost to cover childcare, that's still something more. She needs to take responsibility for creating this situation. Even if she only sends her ex-friend a small amount monthly, it's still something. She may only have a small amount of experience, but she won't gain any more by not working. If you got a fabulous new job next month that covered everything, it's still no guarantee that things will always be peachy. She needs to have some experience and options in case of financial emergency. Esh, I get you're stressed, but you do need to pay back that friend of hers. And y'all need to come to Jesus, talk about finances and lockdown spending. And you need to reach out to the friend regarding payment. They've more than likely heard a different story than what you've said here. Clear the air. If you are blocked on social media, find a friend of the friend and hand over a letter. Explain that you were unaware of the travel plans. They may have thought you were on board with it, that you were trying to make the best of it. Wife needs to acknowledge the debt, to acknowledge she fricked up, and to apologize for such recklessness, both to you and to her friend. And you both do need to find a way to pay friend back. Maybe not immediately, but $1,200 is a lot of money. Even just sitting down to discuss a payment plan would help. You don't want that hanging over you forever, especially if she has proof it was intended to be paid back. You did not ruin the friendship. She did with her decisions. But since you are married, the debt is shared here. Since it sounds like you have shared finances. Since it sounds like repayment was agreed upon with both of you and now you're wanting to back out. The friends have played this game before. This was just the last straw for them. I can practically guarantee. I've paid for friends before under the guise that they couldn't afford it, only to realize they had money. E.g. here, the $1,400 spent overseas, and didn't have any intentions to pay me back in any reasonable time frame, if at all, because I had more and could afford it. Never again. Seriously. Though, I get you're stressed. You are allowed to be stressed and frustrated and angry. Feel those valid emotions. Best of luck. NTA classic case of don't cash a check your tush can't bounce. If she wasn't paying attention to the finances, that's on her. She's coming off as extremely entitled and bratty. NTA for the trip. But come on the whole, they make enough to pay for it. Garbage. It was over $1,000. And it was a loan. Of course the person is going to be pissed and have every right to be. YTA based on your response to comments. You can't never pay the friend back just because she's better off than you and rightfully call your wife out. YTA for just deciding not to pay the friend back. And I hope she sues your wife in small claims court, but not really, because I don't want your kids to suffer. But you're a jackass.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.